unless you read the history of Korea, the war in Korea, it's quite a bit different what most people think. Looking back on it now, your country says that you need to go, so you go. I don't remember being upset one way or the other or anything. The Second World War hadn't been that far gone. This is 1951 and 52. The Second World War ended in 45, so you got less than 6 years. People's memories, are pretty vivid at just 6 years. My stepfather had been in the Air Force during the Second World War and had been a gunner on B-29s, and naturally, the thought of being able to fly on B-29s would be a fantastic thing to do. So that's the reason I enlisted in the Air Force. My name is Romaine D. Round. I've been called RD. My initials RD most of my life. I was called Red when I was in the Air Force. And I'm originally born and raised in Kirksville, Missouri. transferred in the Postal Service to Grand Junction in 1977. And I've been here ever since. Well, we were landing in a B-29, and the airplane had a fire in the engine. We landed at Laurie Air Base, and they told us to get out of the airplane as soon as we could. And anyway, I was watching these black strips go by, and they were going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's just airplane was slowing down. They weren't going as fast. And when they got down where I thought they was going pretty slow, I jumped out. My ring caught on a bomb shackle, and when I hit the ground, I didn't have no finger. The airplane run on over me, and found out later that we were still doing about 40 miles an hour when I jumped out. I can't say it was. I don't remember it hurting, really. I remember thinking how damn dumb that was, I held my hand up and blood was squirting. I said, man, how dumb can that be, Well, I didn't realize my clothes were about half tore off me. I'd lost one of my shoes. So this guy stepped around the corner, the control tower, and said, what's going on? And I said, oh, help. And I threw my hand up, and that blood hit him in the face, and he went boop, over backwards, just passed out. And I'm standing there going, you dumb SB, get up, take me to the hospital, And this other guy come down and grabbed me then, and they put me in a car and took me to the hospital, local base hospital there, Laurie. Major Castle Keene was, well, he was just a man among men. When we were doing our survival training, and he was out there with us, he got to be your dad. He give you the orders. You done what Keene said. That nobody questioned him. Right? Keene was just one of them kind of guys. He was your man. Keene come back to the United States. He was after the Second World War, and he was recalled for Korea. And he wanted to get a crew. Anyway, we're standing there and we're complaining about the fact that because while you're waiting, you're doing KP every day or something. So we was complaining about, when the hell are we going to get to be get our chance to go? So about 3 days later, we got called that we were on this special crew for Major Keene. Anyway, they took us out from Stead Air Force Base in trucks and put us out there and give us a parachute. Each of us got a parachute and one little old piece of pemmican about this big square. They took us out, give us out. The first day we was out, it snowed on us. We had no winter equipment or nothing. All we had was a parachute. So we'd made us some little one-man tents. It took us 27 days, and we walked across, I forget how many miles, probably about 40 miles, 50 miles hiked. They had these guys out in aggressors looking for us. We had an instructor with us that wasn't allowed to tell us anything that you're going in the wrong direction. If we got to go in the wrong way, he was supposed to tell us that. I was an old country boy, so it didn't bother me very much. I'd run around in the woods most of my life anyway. So, a lot of those guys couldn't believe that, couldn't stand it. We're from New York and back east. Just another fun game to play. The idea was to give you a taste of what it would be like if you did get shot down. The temperature in Korea was very, very cold, and especially there where northern Korea was. During Korean War, a lot of our soldiers got froze and died in the Chosin Reservoir area, and we bombed that area quite a bit. And my aircraft commander was Major Keene, and they lined us all up. We was out on the tarmac, and Major Keene come over and pinned the wings on each one of us and told us we were officially now gunners on his crew. And that was after we come back from survival training. And I've still got my wings today that he pinned on me. So, well, when we got to Korea, we left on November the 17th. We got there November the 18th. Our officers went, like I said, a day ahead of us. They flew a day ahead of us. Well, when you officers got to Korea, the first thing they done when they got to their squadron was they were assigned a mission with another crew as an orientation flight, what they called an orientation flight. We get there on the morning of the 18th, or the evening of the 18th, and we were called into the orderly room, and Keene was shot down that night on this crew that he had went this orientation flight on, was shot down and was missing in action. The next day we were told that they had sent sampans out and was checking to see if the guys had survived the ocean. Keene was not found. There was no trace of him or any of the other 9 or 10 guys that was on the airplane. Smokey was found, our Lieutenant Sistak was found with his hands tied behind him, executed on the beach. And one of the other crew members was found dead. Keene's missing in action, and we don't have a pilot or radar man now, and that's our first day there. And, it's rather jarring to realize, oh, wait a minute here now, this we're not playing games anymore, this is for real. And Smokey's dead, Keene's missing, and we don't have any idea what we're gonna do. And then Lieutenant Rossler come over, and he was going to be our aircraft commander. And so we went and flew a couple of what they call warm-up missions, or getting together missions, or whatever you want to call them. We was testing engines and doing things like that. We flew a couple of them, and then we started on our rotation of every third night. We flew every third night, and it started out the first day of the 3 days. You went out and checked the guns on the airplane. If they had been shot, you cleaned them. You put them back on the airplane. You got everything ready. And you go to a briefing room, in a big room, and all the crews would be in there, all the officers and enlisted men. And each crew had set together. And they'd open the map, and they'd show us where we were going to go and how we were going to fly and what we were supposed to do, how many airplanes. Was it a max? They had what we call maximum efforts, which were all of the planes from Okinawa and all the planes from Japan would go together, and we'd fly all at once, 300 or 400 airplanes up there over a target. And then the gunners would go in one room, and they'd tell us about what we could expect from fighters and stuff like that, what we were to look for. So that's about all. And then you would, usually around 5:30, 6 o'clock, we'd go out to the airplane, and we'd start again. We'd start the engines and pre-flight them. We would check all the guns. We'd load them. At that time, you'd load your guns, get your ammunition, make sure everything was right, turn your guns up. You could always tell if an airplane had loaded guns, because they'd be sitting pointed straight up in the air, as close to high as up or straight down. And we'd line up, and anything that was special we'd discuss then. And then we'd get in the airplane and we'd taxi out. They'd tell us time to taxi out, and we'd taxi out and line up and fly, and go. It's a huge airplane. 110 feet long, the wingspan of 99 feet. It had a crew of 11. We flew a lot of missions that were 13 hours. And to put a 4-engine airplane in the air, it had to carry, I think at one time I was told that it carried, in gas and oil, it carried as much as a railroad car. And you flew most of the time when we was in the States, we flew at 25 to 30,000 feet, and in Korea, we flew most of the time at 20 to 25,000 feet. The airplane carried 49 500-pound bombs. Actually, you could carry 50, but 49 was what we carried, and we had one photo flash bomb that we carried, and it went off, and we was able to take pictures of strikes on the ground by that photo flash bomb. They had these B-26s that they use, they call them marauders, and they would harass the train movements and truck movements and stuff like that. That was their big job. Skip bombing, they done a lot of skip bombing. They used to tell a story about that these guys would fly in these B-26s and they'd be looking for trains going into tunnels. And as soon as they seen a train go into a tunnel, they'd run around to the other side of it and try to skip a bomb in where it would block one end of the tunnel and then swing around to the other end real quick and try to block the train and keep it in the tunnel where it couldn't get out. But we lost a lot of them, and a lot of pilots, planes, due to cables. Most people don't realize that the mountains were really high in Korea, and they would string cables between the mountains, and if you flew down and flew very low, you'd run into them cables and knock you down. One time we got hit in the tail surface, and the flak come up and poked a hole through the tail. And the aircraft commander said, well, the airplane's a little mushy feeling. How's everything back there, RD? So I'm sitting back there on both sides where I can see both sides of the tail surfaces, not the vertical, but the horizontal. And I'm sitting back there, and he says, check them out and see what they look like. And I said, they ain't too bad. I said, there's a little hole in this one out here, but it ain't too bad. Okay, well, we'll fly on. We'll go on back to Japan, and we'll cross the ocean, fly back to Japan rather than try to land in South Korea. So we truck on back, and we get home and land, and they about crucified me because the hole was about the size of a number 10 wash tub, about this big around where it come through that plane, that tail. And I said, it didn't look that bad to me. And them guys thought, my God, RD, we should have landed in Korea. No, we didn't. We got home. Come on, we're back to our warm bed. I don't ever remember being fearful. Even when you were, the idea of it is, what most people don't understand is, you don't worry so much about you getting killed. You worry about letting the other bunch of people down, the guys you're with, whether it's in the Army or the Air Force or whatever. Your comrades in arms. And the thing that the Army says is you leave no one behind. The Air Force, we did leave a lot of guys behind. There's no getting around that because we couldn't get them out of there. They tried to rescue them, but a lot of them were not rescued. A lot of them were marched in Chosun Reservoir area and were killed, and it was terrible the way some of them were treated. You never think about that. At least I don't ever remember being fearful. I can remember the one time that we got shot at really bad. This MiG was behind us, and these bright orange or red balls were going by on both sides of the airplane. And I kept thinking, oh my God, we're getting hit up in the wings. And he was coming at us right straight back from the tail, and I was shooting at him. They said, are you shooting? I said, yeah, I'm shooting at him. So the upper gunners, the CFC gunner was shooting too. And he shot at us like this, come down, and he just broke right out over the top of us like that. And he was gone. But that was the only time that we were really had any problem we was worried about or anything. Most of the time, a lot of flak and stuff, but gee whiz, that was an every mission deal, it was no different than anything else. We flew what they call an entrail formation. Well, all the time you're on that bomb run, the flak's really getting after you, and it sounds, the easiest way to tell you what it sounds like is like somebody throwing a hand of gravel on a tin roof. You were uptight, you were excited, you never thought about anything. Now, if the airplane had got caught on fire, it'd be a little bit different situation, But we was hit several times, but never where we couldn't get home. As far as MacArthur was concerned, I think MacArthur was a braggadocious person, and he played to the cameras a lot. Although he was a good general, I wouldn't say he wasn't a good general, but I think that he was, I will return, and he showed him wading back into the beaches of Bataan. But the story about Bataan, until people read the stories and see what really happened, how the Japanese treated him, it's really sad. They annihilated a lot of American servicemen. Naturally, I never seen the man, never close to the man, never even other than pictures of him. That's all I ever seen. So, when China entered it, MacArthur wanted to invade China. That was his thing. We were at the Chosin Reservoir, and he said China was going to be our next big thing that we had to worry about. So MacArthur wanted to invade China. Truman and the American officers and stuff didn't want that done. They said, if you invade China, we'll have a war like the Second World War was. It'll really be bad. And MacArthur said, no, we can whip them in a day or two. About that time, when China entered the war, they put like 30 or 40,000 of their soldiers, against us, and they surrounded Chosin Reservoir, and it was really bad for a while. It was pretty darn bad. And they pushed everybody back down to the DMZ at that time. In fact, they went a little bit farther. You got to remember, we all serve. When you're in the Air Force or in the service, you serve at the request of the president. You serve at his. If he don't want you, he can get rid of you.
On the 11th of April at 1 a.m., a presidential announcement informs a stunned and mystified nation that a legendary hero has been dethroned. From the beginning, he has been aware of what might result from defying Truman. But with dignity and courage, he calmly accepts the consequences of his action. He gambled and lost. His military career is over.
And like I say, I don't really remember. I just remember it was over with, and that, it was not settled. It was over with, I guess would be the way to say it, because it's still not over with as far as that goes. There's no papers ever been signed, or no armistice, no anything ever been signed. They both just agreed to stop shooting at each other. I didn't want to stay in, so they let me out in December of '52. I have, for years in my life, I've said that every boy in the United States needs to go into the Army. And the reason why is you suddenly find out that there's somebody to give you orders. I don't give a damn who you are, President of the United States. Somebody's going to give you orders and tell you what to do. And in the Army, they finally make you understand that if you don't do the orders, then you're going to get in trouble for not doing them right. The chain of command is something that you go by. I am a little bit upset with our government. I raised my right hand and swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Okay. I took that oath, so I've always obeyed my conscience on the fact that I took an oath to protect and defend, and Keene and all the officers took the same oath. We all took the same oath. The government also was supposed to tell us, they told us when we were enlisted, that whatever happened to us, we would be protected. We would be taken care of after the war was over. Well, they've never done anything about Keene. They've never done anything about half the soldiers that was missing in Korea. They just shoved them off to one side and said, no. He took an oath. They all took an oath to protect and defend, but they're not doing that. Our politicians have ruined the government, ruined the country, because they don't care about the oath to protect and defend. That's my feelings on it. I'm probably wrong, but that's the way I feel about it anyway. So we wanted to get a good-looking blonde to meet us when we landed, when we come back. Guess what? There wasn't nobody to meet us as far as that goes. And to this day, they talk about the Vietnam vets about not being welcomed home. The Korean vets were not either. We were not thanked or told anything like the Second World War was, but it is what it is. You know, I still made a good life for myself. I'm happy. I'm 84 years old and still getting up in the morning. Sometimes I creak a little bit when I get up, but